Hi, I'm Jill Osur, founder of Teneral Cellars, a woman-owned and run wine company. Join me as I have conversations with trailblazing women who are transforming the world with grit and grace. So grab a glass and let's drink some amazing wine together. Hi, welcome to this segment of Chill with Jill. I'm thrilled to be here today with Mona Pasquil, the president of California Women Lead. We are social distancing, so we will not be clinking our glasses, Mona, but cheers to you, sister.
Cheers.
Thank you for being here today, as I really enjoy talking to empowered women who empower women, and you epitomize that. So let's start with wine, though. You know, we're drinking your favorite, which is a red blend, but it's a Sangiovese base, which you love. So do you have a wine memory that comes to mind with women and wine?
Yeah, I actually do. So I mentor a lot of young women, actually women of all ages, right? And I think that one of the things that I like to do is bring everybody together over food. So we took a trip to a winery, and then we had a wonderful lunch. And during the lunch, I asked the younger girls, talk about, your experience of working on this team. And the two youngest girls, we are the daughters of farm workers. We have never been to a place like this. We have our parents pick the grapes. And the rest of us just sat in awe at listening to them and appreciating where they were coming from.
Wow.
And I said, well, we're doing this every year. And bring others along. And I think that it's when you come together, I always believe, to eat and drink great wine, you come together to celebrate each other and to really appreciate each other's stories. But it was that day, I've had a lot of fun wine stories, but it was really that day that was a marker for me about how we enjoy how we come together, but always thinking about and asking people their stories and what it means to them. We sometimes don't even give it a second thought.
No, and as you're talking about that too, I mean, I'm just full of gratitude because, as you're saying, when we come together, especially women, especially around a table with food and wine, is just appreciating where that comes from and all the hands that touch the food and the grapes, and to hear those young women say, I know, I'm getting emotional as you're talking about that. It's like, that wouldn't be on the table if her family, their family members weren't part of that. And I think we always should remember that, right? It's, that's a wonderful memory around wine. And the fact that you're going to continue to do that is even better, because a lot of people will really appreciate that. And certainly hearing that story.
I'll bring them to Teneral next.
Yes, please do. Speaking of Teneral, I'm just, the cameras may not be able to see this, but we literally have a swarm of dragonflies around us right now. And so we welcome you, dragonflies. Thank you. Thank you for bringing your spirit and your energy here, because it's on cue, and it's absolutely stunning and powerful and transformative at the same time. So speaking of transformative, during these tough times, and we've all been locked down now since March, what are you doing for self-care for yourself, or are you? I guess would be the better question.
Probably, if I was being graded, it would be an F. I'm the person who is like it's hard to manage your time. For me, it's hard to manage when you're at home, because I want to spend time in the garden. Then I've got to also do my appointments, and then I've got to do the conference calls, because everyone's on a video conference call now. And so I'm horribly that person that will return emails or send emails at 10 o'clock. I have learned, to hit deliver it later, not at midnight. But one of the things that I have tried to do now is just a few minutes of meditation every day. To say that I would do 30 minutes, that's a pipe dream. But to say to myself, you get a few minutes of meditation. Usually it's in the garden, and it's with my chimes, kind of, just singing ever so lightly. But it's a time to just be grounded in the day. And I have to say that I appreciate just having a home and having a job and having food on the table, because I recognize during these times people are really struggling. And it's easy when you're in your house to say, oh, I feel really bad. But if you take a moment to really appreciate what you have and, ask the universe for guidance on how you can help those who don't have it, then you're starting your day off right.
Absolutely. I think as women, we take on so much of the emotional wellness of our families that if we don't take care of ourselves, then it makes it very difficult to take care of others. And you're such a powerhouse woman. I mean, what most people, if you don't know, you're going to know now. But Mona was the first woman lieutenant governor of the state of California, first Asian Pacific Islander and Filipina to be lieutenant governor. Tell us about that, because I mean that is remarkable.
So it goes to mentorship, right? So I was the chief deputy for the then Lieutenant Governor John Garamendi. When he ran to win in a special election, the chief deputy, the California Constitution says the chief deputy becomes the acting until the governor nominates and the legislature approves. And I had prepared all of the options for John. I had said, you can put somebody else in my seat, which is a typical chick thing to do. You can put somebody else in my seat who might want to run, or that you want to give some props to. And he and his wife Patty have been mentors for years. He said to me, "What do you want?" And without even thinking, I said, "Well, I want it." And as I was saying it, I thought, "Oh my God, am I really saying it? Is it really coming out?" And he didn't even miss a beat. He said, "It's yours." And so it was one of those moments where I had prepared for somebody else in my heart. I had wanted the opportunity, and he was the wonderful mentor and boss who said, "Well, what do you want?" And I felt secure enough to answer honestly.
Well, you and I have had a conversation offline about that, about, men don't hesitate to lean in and to just say, I want it, whether they're qualified or not. And women are often judged by what they've done in the past. And you've had a lot of experience with that, because you were also, the appointment secretary for the governor. And that's not making appointments,
Yeah, that's right.
like scheduling appointments. That's actually finding talent. And, when you were in that position, clearly you had an opportunity to identify a lot of women. But what did you find when you had that kind of position of power where you literally were the one feeding the governor, talent for different appointments?
Well, I was so grateful because he said, go out and find the heroes in every community. And so before I did that, I did my own Nancy Drew Hardy Boys work of, who's currently serving on the boards and who's in our applicant pool. And so I found boards that hadn't had a woman on there since the 70s.
Wow.
Or a person of color. I thought, this can't be, right? And so I worked with the legislature. I worked with different, leadership groups and folks up and down the state to say, help me build and help our team build an applicant pool. Now, what I found was in trainings, or if I would talk about the process, I could line up 5 men and 5 women, all equally qualified. 4 out of the 5 women would say, I'm not sure. I might have to take some other courses. I'm not sure I'm the right person, right? Immediately, all 5 guys, I'm your guy. And I remember thinking, wait, time out. Why? Why am I consistently finding this? And so I thought, we've got to have better mentors. We've got to be able to open up avenues for these women who were clearly qualified, to give them the opportunities. But then once you get them in there, you don't let them go. You've got to stay with them and either find them a mentor in the issue area or check in with them. And there was one time, I'll never forget it, I called one of our appointees and I said, how are you doing? Because I had heard she was struggling in some of the meetings. And she said, I think you need to appoint somebody else. And I said, why would we do that? And she said, because I feel like I'm the dumbest person on the board. And I said, time out, why? Well, everybody speaks in acronyms. And if anyone knows Governor Brown, you do not use acronyms. I said, okay, well, shame on them. I said, but tell me when your next meeting is and I'll go with you. I'll sit in the audience. And she said, you're kidding. It turned out that I didn't have to go and sit in the audience. That was just what she needed. And so that's a sign for all sisters in the sisterhood to think about how we support each other. And how you don't just, if you get a great opportunity, you don't leave them once it's there. but you stick with them and help and, be in their universe and in their corner.
Wow.
But it really surprised me how many women lack the confidence. And they're clearly qualified.
Yes. Yeah. So what advice would you give to women? I mean, clearly I want to find out more about, how you got into this and where your inspiration came from. But as we're talking about that, I mean, how do we overcome that, and how do we change that dynamic?
So you're never going to get rid of the self-doubt. I have self-doubt all the time. And one of the exercises that I always share, my mother gave me this. If I'm nervous, I walk into the bathroom, I look in the mirror, I have the conversation. Super nervous. I don't know why I'm doing this. Am I qualified? And you say all these things that you're thinking, and then you leave the bathroom or the room with the mirror, shut the door, leave it all there. Leave all that baggage there and walk forward with confidence. A couple of things happen. You really completely laugh at yourself because you're doing this and you're wondering, right. Oh my God, can anybody see me? Oh my God, what are they thinking? So it actually levels for you.
Yep.
And I still do that to this day. Or I call a friend, and that friend will walk me off the plank because I'll say, I just don't know, why would they think of me for this particular opportunity? I can't possibly be what they're looking for. And you need to have someone to say, sister, brother, father, friend, right?
Mm-hmm.
You are qualified. And so I think that's how I know I get through it. I share it because, one, I think it's super funny when I leave the bathroom, because I'm thinking, how many times have I done this in 50 years?
Yes. Yeah.
But it's not going to magically go away. We've got to embrace it, deal with it, and when you overcome it and get the job or whatever the opportunity is, a little bit of that doubt hopefully goes to the wayside.
Yeah, no, that's great advice. So how did you get into politics? I mean, tell us about your story.
Well, it goes back to John Garamendi again. I wanted to be an English lit teacher. I'll tell you how nerdy I am. I love Dante and Chaucer. Oh my God! And of course, everyone just goes blank in the face. But I babysat for him and his wife when I was a kid. And I was always I'm the oldest of 5. I was always that kid that said, are you telling me no because I'm a girl? Is this fair? I was that kid, my poor parents. And so they really helped me channel my energy. They got me involved in campaigns. So when I was in high school, I couldn't necessarily go and campaign out, but I would make the signs. Mm-hmm. And I have them all ready. I would help them put their literature together. And that gave me a taste of it when I was in school. And then when I graduated, he says, I know you want to do something else, but I want to offer you the opportunity to come and work in the Capitol. And he said, he reminded me of a story when he was in the Senate and I was in 8th grade. I went for a tour. He spoke to our class, and I asked him a question, about water. And he said, I never forgot that, because out of all the kids asking, can we cut the numbers of days of school, you asked me about water. And he said, I knew you'd be back. And so that gave me, I thought, well, gosh, my voice matters. My questions matter. Mm. And so I thought, well, heck, I could do this. I'm the oldest of 5. I don't have any problems picking a fight, right? And I learned that as I entered into politics, I looked around the room. Mm. There were at the time when I first started, there was one woman in the Senate, Roseanne Bowie. But I didn't see women chiefs of staff. I saw women secretaries. Mm. I didn't see a lot of women consultants except for in Garamendi's office. And I thought, I am following this example. How do you do it? And the women who were very involved then and who are his senior consultants said, Mona, if you get an opportunity, bring others along. I was like, that's right. I'm going to bring somebody along everywhere I go. And I think that's, my parents taught me that, but I saw the importance of it when I started working in the Capitol.
Wow. That's really powerful. So you are currently with the president of California Women Lead. Mm-hmm. Which is a bipartisan nonprofit organization that lifts up and supports women to run for local, state, national government, as well as obtain board seats so that we can have a seat at the table. So tell us about this work, because it's so important. And I'm thrilled too. It's nonpartisan, because we need more women on all sides.
That's right.
And so talk to us a little bit about this wonderful organization.
So my involvement with them started when I started working for Jerry Brown. They literally, in the beginning of Jerry's second run, they had said, we have binders of women's resumes. So they gave it to him, and then when I started, down plops this binder, and I'm like, what am I supposed to do with all of these? And he says, well, you got to go through them and see if we need to appoint anybody. I said, well, I'm not going to do it like that. So I call him in and I said, you've been training these women since the 70s. I need you to help me, and so they have ownership. Help me find women who might be a great cabinet secretary, women who could run a department, women who may not have their own job, but might want to be on the UC Regents or on the Parks and Rec board. And so the great thing about it is that it was a partnership. They were totally willing to go out there and then follow up with these women so that we could do trainings up and down the state. So they knew what they were getting into, and I was hooked. And then next thing I know, I was on the board. Then next thing I know, I'm an officer. But one of the things I love about what we do is that in every corner, in every level of government, our voices should be there. One of the things that I have also said many times when we started, there was a huge budget deficit, and there were cuts that had to be made that were the most horrible cuts because they were to the people who needed assistance the most, right? When we were talking to some women directors, I noticed one thing, the difference is that when they were coming together, even though there was a limited budget and there were cuts, everybody got to eat, everybody got something. Everybody had to make a cut, but everybody got something. And I see that as the difference. When women lead, everybody eats. Everybody gets something. Everyone has to sacrifice. And so part of why our mission to get women elected is that we've got to teach them. You got to fundraise. You've got to learn how to get on camera. You've got to learn how to handle, opposition research, because now it's not like 1,000 years ago when I started, but with the internet and social media, things are on right away and 24/7, and sometimes it's not the most pretty of stories. And so how do you train women? And I have seen more women just taken aback that people are interested in their voice. And so it motivates me to want to train and do more. And I love that we're nonpartisan. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, we're stronger as a community and as a society if we're helping all women.
Well, and if we're certainly creating legislation and policies around women, whether they're Republican or Democrat or independent, I'd rather have 10 women around the table than 10 men making those decisions. Right. And and it's interesting because right now, the United States is 83rd in the world for female representation, legislative representation in government. And for a country that, where women have it better than anyone else, I mean, it's almost unfathomable that this is even possible. Yet 83rd. I mean, it's, and you guys are working too with younger women too, right? So talk to us about that project.
So we just started a group called Young Women Lead, and we've got our first cohort this year. We're starting them with mentors. We're putting, women executives and women elected in front of them, so that in great environments where they can learn about their stories, but then also, ask them questions. It's sacred ground where you could do it, just either with 20 folks in a room, and no one feels intimidated or embarrassed by the question. But to help them grow is putting people in front of them that can inspire them, but will also tell them the truth. It is not easy. Sacrifices will have to be made, but guess what? You will get there. You've got to work hard at it. And I think if you, everyone from our Chief Justice, to the Secretary of the Senate, who's not the Secretary of the Senate, but really runs the entire Senate,
right.
Those kinds of stories are inspiring. And I think children don't know what they can become unless they see it.
Right.
And so whether you're 5 or 58, you want to see women or people that look like you share your values in these leadership positions.
Well, and again, whether looking at Kamala Harris as our vice presidential nominee, what excites me is that there are little girls that now can look at that television and say, that can be me someday. Um, and we should all aspire for that, because one of the questions I'd like to ask you is, you know there's so much distrust now in our policymakers and in government, and so how do you overcome that, or do you see that as an issue with the women that you're working with, or women that are hesitant to get involved because of the vitriol around politics and everything involved right now?
A lot of the stories that I've heard are women will say, I'm not sure that I can run the end. A few things. I have young kids, and I see the horrible things that people say about you that are not true. What will it do to my family? And I said, so when one of the first questions we ask when you want to run, whether it's school board or for the U.S. Senate, do your own homework. What will people say? What's the worst thing that people can say? And then have a family conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not just your family. It's your friends.
Right.
It's your work. Have that conversation. But until we do that, and help our sisters feel comfortable and we know you, we got this. It'll continue to be tough. It's tough. I had always wanted to be the first Filipina elected to the legislature. When I was in grade school, my father used to tell me that was what I would always say. When I started working at the White House, and I learned one thing: I want to be the behind the scenes person. I felt that, and that was really because I kind of came into my own as to how do you really make things happen.
Mm-hmm.
And in my view, sometimes when you're the one that was out there, it's not as easy to make things happen as when you're the staff person who's kind of running different programs and making things
and
behind the scenes move.
Yeah, well, and as you know, all the work gets done behind the scenes. So so you worked at the White House. What was your experience there?
It was a great experience. I was Bill Clinton's Western political director, and what was wonderful about it is I'm from a pretty conservative Filipino family. Grandparents on one side Republican, the other is Democrat, but I would say pretty conservative at that. I got an offer to move to Washington D.C. and they all immediately said, "Oh my God, you can't go there. You're a girl, and you don't have anyone who will take care of you if something happens." And I remember thinking, "I'll take care of myself." but I also had this doubt, like, "Oh God, maybe they're right." And my best friend's mom had terminal cancer, and I was one of the people helping her and take care of her in her last days. And one of the last things she said to me was, she said, "Mo, I know why you're staying here, and I want to tell you it's okay to go." And I said, "Really?" She says, I'll be fine, your parents will be fine, everybody will be fine, but if you don't do this, you will lose out on an opportunity. And so I did leave, and thinking about it now, as I was flying over Denver, I had this really weird gut feeling. And when I landed, her daughter called and said she passed, and it was right about that time. But she was the one who said, "Do it, go." And sometimes you need that.
You do.
You need to have someone say to you, "It's okay." Others may say, "We're not sure," but that's because they love you. But do it, because if you don't do it, you could regret it.
Yeah.
I had the best time back there. I learned so much. I worked super hard. I was the Western political director, which meant I was the first in and the last to leave. But I was also the one person who I would run into people like the valets in the White House, who in the old days, they were all Filipinos in the kitchen. And I remember my first White House party, someone tapped me on the shoulder. And it was one of the valets in his little tux, and he said, "Are you Filipino?" I said, "Yeah. Am I in trouble?" And he said, "No." He says, "What's your name?" and this and that. And he came back later and he said, "We're so proud of you because for years we've always been here, but we've been behind the curtain. You're on the other side of the curtain and people know your name."
Wow.
That's heavy.
Because
what that did for me was I have to represent him well, and all the others. And I think I've always had that in me, but we get these great opportunities. They're not just for us, they're for others.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So who were some of your mentors?
Oh my gosh, I have some. My parents, my mom, my grandmother, my dad. But in Washington, it was Mignon Moore, who was my boss, Yolanda Caraway, who worked for Ron Brown, Tina Flanoy, Donna Brazil,
Mm.
Debbie Wilhite. They were the women who were the, may I say, badass women.
You can say badass on this show. Yes.
Who really, they broke down a lot of barriers. They were really super tough, but they they paved the way for a lot of us who are working for them, and showed us how you do it, and also showed us, things aren't always rosy.
Right.
There will be people who will work against you that are on the same side, and may also be, another woman. You got to show what you got. And I remember thinking, I don't know, sometimes maybe this isn't for me. And I would talk to one of them, and they're like, "Are you done? Get off your pity pot and get back to work."
Yeah.
I'm like, done. Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Are you done now? Let's get back to work. Not, oh, it's okay. No, we need people to keep us on track, and to stay focused. And clearly with what you've done, I mean, you know how to focus. And, I'm a big fan of having your personal cabinet or your personal board of directors.
Yes.
And I think as we get older and wiser, it's important to spend time around other women that share the same kind of positive energy and outlook, and same kind of expectations. Different experiences, right? Different experiences, different, perspectives on things, and having diverse voices is so important. My life is so enriched when I have friends and my cabinet that have come from diverse experiences and have diverse voices, because I've learned so much from that. I mean, as much as sometimes we think we know everything, until we listen to other women's stories and, and see and listen and hear what they've gone through, it changes our perspective. And I think we're better for it, which is...
Absolutely. I recently, one of the friends back in the 90s, which now sounds like a long time ago.
Anything before March seems like a really long time ago.
So one of our girlfriends was diagnosed in this year with cancer, and during COVID, we couldn't visit her. She's in Washington D.C., and so we all sent her cards. And then one of our great friends, Jill Alper from Michigan, who's like this political strategist extraordinaire, she said, "I'm putting a call together. We're all going to get on Zoom." And as the weeks went by, more of us, got on the call, and we looked around. We looked at that mosaic, and our boss Mignon was on one day, and we said, "Thank you," because way back when, you put all of us together. We wouldn't have normally just kind of come together, but you put all of us together to lead in the presidential campaigns, and we've since, whenever she calls and says, "I got a campaign," we're like, "We're there. What do you need?" But it was the beginning for a lot of us coming together with people that we never knew about each other's backgrounds, and we made it happen. And to come together and still be tight knit today is a pretty phenomenal thing. And so we thank all of our mentors for that.
Oh, that's wonderful. So for women and young women out there that think that their vote doesn't count, because I want to circle back to that, because, November, will be probably the most important vote of a lifetime. And, for our environment, for women, for, so many things that are important to us. But a lot of people don't think their vote counts and their voice counts. So, what would you say to those women listening and watching right now?
Are you okay with someone speaking for you? Or are you going to speak up for yourself? Are you gonna step out of just accepting the way things are, or are you going to do something about it?
Yeah. And
I'm all for a challenge, because I think I was that person at one point a long time ago. I didn't think it mattered. One, because I didn't see how the magic happened. But when I see today, I see so much division. I see people not trusting each other. Mm-hmm. I think if we can't come together, if we can't step up and be just a little bit brave, then we've got to have another conversation with ourselves. But I'm so motivated by the young women who are marching in the streets,
yes,
who are standing up not just for their communities, but for all communities, stepping outside of maybe what their group wouldn't do,
yes,
and saying, "I support you." I am inspired by that. And so to anybody who's doubting, take a look at those women. and look at their faces, because your face is included in that.
No, thank you for saying that. And I love that you use the word support, because, a dear friend of mine, Phyllis Newhouse, started Shoulder Up with Viola Davis. And it's not about help, right? If I ask another strong woman, do you need some help? I mean, the first thing we do is go, I don't need any help. But it's about supporting each other, right? It's about standing up, speaking up, and shouldering up. And women like us using our voice and our influence to support other women. And it's so critically important. But she also talks about it's our time. I love doing this Chill with Jill, because when I talk to women like you who have wonderful stories, and, a younger woman watching can learn something from that, because you know what? They're the ones that are going to save the world. The younger woman. It's time for us to share our wisdom, our words, our experience, and pass the torch to the younger generation, because they all care so deeply. They don't purchase, they purchase only, products from companies that, that care about the world, that their downstreams are clean, and it's so important. So I think it's, the things that you're sharing today are so important, because we do need women to get involved in politics, and we do need women to have seats on boards, and we do need women to be part of school boards and their local government, because if we're not part of it, then we don't have a voice, and our children will suffer, women will suffer, our families will suffer. So I really appreciate all that you're bringing today. I do have one fun question I want to ask you.
Okay.
So when were lieutenant governor, one of the most powerful positions in California, did you push something through that you really wanted to get through in your time? What was the best thing that happened while you were there? Come on.
Okay. So it was actually really humbling. So my dad had just been diagnosed with lung cancer right before, as all this was going on. And then on the day that I got the letter that said I was the acting lieutenant governor, and I had friends calling and saying congratulations, my dad was having part of his lung removed.
Oh.
And so I didn't appreciate it as much as I normally would have. So, but I go to his hospital bed. He's in recovery, and then we can come in and see him. And I said, Dad, they're like, oh, he probably won't wake up. It'll be a few hours. And I said, okay, let me just say something to him. Dad, I wasn't able to give you grandchildren, but I did get our family name in the California history books. I hope that's okay. And like clockwork, he's like this. He opens his eyes like, that's good. Went right back. Yes, yes. So that was all. It was that moment of a daughter just
great.
Always wanting her dad to be proud of her, of her, because he taught me so much. But the other one was this friend Larry, who worked in our office, and he pulled me aside one day and he said, you're just doing what you need to do, and you're getting things done. He says, but I want you to take a moment, because have you realized you're the first woman and the first woman of color in this position? And if you don't enjoy it, and if you don't share this experience and do the tough things that nobody else will do, brag about it, those girls that are following you and watching you, they're not going to think it's a big deal.
Yeah.
And I looked at him and was like, whatever, Larry. And then I took a few more steps and I went, oh God, whatever, you're right.
Yeah.
And so I did, the census was going on at that time. And all the statewide electeds and legislators would go to different places to promote the census. I contacted them, and my big thing was, I'll go wherever no one else wants to go.
Good for you.
And I went to the best parts of the state and met the most wonderful people. And they all asked, will you come back, because nobody else?
Oh, wow.
I'm like, I'll be back. I'll be back. I might not be in this office, but I'll be back. And I think that it's a reminder that people are hungry to be communicated with.
For connection.
And they want to be a part of it.
Absolutely.
And they want to know that the people that are making decisions just acknowledge them.
Wow. That's really powerful. And, cheers to you, because that is such a big deal. And, you will forever be the first woman, to be a lieutenant governor in the great state of California. So congratulations
Really
to you for that. Yes. So for people that want to know how to support California Women Lead, and where can we send them?
Please go to our website, californiawomenlead.org. And we're having a big annual conference, our first virtual, but we mentor. We set up mentoring sessions. You can join we have coffees every month with our board members to just talk about keeping it real. And we also connect people to opportunities, not just on state and local boards, but we're moving into corporate boards and getting women prepared to serve on them, because
Wonderful.
if we're not there either, that's a problem.
Well, we're thrilled to support you. And from our launch on October 1st through Election Day, for anyone who buys a 3-pack of our wine in the state of California, we will donate $10 from every 3-pack to support the great work that you're doing, because we want to support women, and we know how important having a seat at the table and having women represent our needs and making this country a better place is vitally important. So thank you for joining us today. And I'm so thrilled to have you, and so thrilled to enjoy a great glass of wine with you. And really, thanks for coming out today.
Thank you for all you do.
Absolutely.
This is delicious.
Cheers.
Cheers.